Do or do not. There is no try.
The Empire Strikes Back wasn't just a sequel, it was a crumbling galaxy held together by one impossible film. But behind the Force, the galaxy wasn't the only thing unraveling. George Lucas bankrolled it solo and almost lost everything. Ford trashed the script mid-scene and made Star Wars history. And the twist that changed cinema? It leaked early, but no one took it seriously. These are 20 weird facts about The Empire Strikes Back. And buried beneath the carbonite was a franchise inches from death. Grab your lightsaber. This wasn't just the best Star Wars movie. It was the most dangerous one ever made. Number 1. It wasn't a special effect. It was a survival test. When the production team scouted locations for Hoth, they landed on Finse, Norway, a remote town surrounded by ice, cliffs, and avalanches. They wanted snow. What they got was a full-blown blizzard, and it nearly shut the entire film down. Trapped in their hotel, buried under feet of snow, the crew was stranded. Roads were blocked. Equipment was frozen. But the director, Irvin Kershner, had an idea. He pointed the camera out the hotel's back door and sent Mark Hamill, dressed as Luke Skywalker, into the storm alone. No stage, no lighting, just real snow whipping into his face. That entire opening sequence where Luke staggers through the icy wasteland, it was filmed steps from their lobby. No green screen, no stunt double. It was so cold, Hamill's eyelids froze between takes. They only got a few minutes of footage each time before the camera jammed. And yet, those shots, they're some of the most haunting, isolated frames in the whole saga. Because Empire didn't just show the rebellion struggle, it made the actors live it. Number 2. The scene is unforgettable. Han slicing open the Tauntaun's belly to shove Luke inside for warmth. It was gross. It was cold. It was survival. But behind the scenes, it was worse. That Tauntaun wasn't just a prop. It was a festering mess. The outer shell was latex, painted and stuffed. But inside, a mix of rotting meat, tuna, and slime, designed to steam under studio lights for realism. It worked. It also stank so badly that cast and crew gagged between takes. By day 2, the lights had cooked it into something unholy. One grip said it was the worst smell of any set he'd ever been on, and that included Jaws. They finished the shoot quickly and burned the carcass after wrap. It looked like sci-fi, but it smelled like hell. Number 3. The carbon freeze chamber might be one of the most iconic sets in film history. Glowing orange mist, brutal stakes, and a moment that redefined Star Wars forever. But shooting it was a nightmare. The scene was filmed on a closed soundstage filled with smoke machines, steam vents, hot lights, and barely any airflow. Between takes, crew members dropped like flies. Literally. Some fainted. Others had to be dragged out and revived. Billy D. Williams said it felt like working in a sauna with no exit. And Harrison Ford? He was drenched in sweat under heavy clothes, trying to deliver what might have been his final line in the franchise. Everyone remembers "I love you" and Ford's legendary "I know." But what no one saw was the chaos behind the camera. Because to make movie magic, they had to suffer through heat stroke. And somehow, that discomfort made it feel real. That goodbye wasn't just dramatic, it was earned. Number 4. It looked like a lush, alien jungle. In reality, Dagobah reeked like a backed-up sewer. The swamp set was built on a massive soundstage in London. It had real water, imported plants, and artificial fog. But once the lights hit, it started to rot. The swamp fermented, mold spread, crew members gagged through entire days of shooting. It got so bad, they had to shut down production, drain the entire swamp, and bake the floor under industrial heaters overnight just to kill the stench. They even pumped in chemical swamp fog the next morning to cover what lingered. The final result on screen looked mystical, dreamlike, but the smell? That was all too real. And it made Dagobah feel less like a set, and more like something alive.
I feel like...
Be like what?
like we're being watched.
Oh, wait, put your weapon. I mean you no harm. I am wondering, why are you here?
I'm looking for a great warrior.
Oh, wars not make one great.
Number 5. When fans saw Luke get mauled by a snow beast in the first 10 minutes, they thought it was just world building. What they didn't know? That scene was written to explain a real-world accident. Just before filming, Mark Hamill had been in a violent car crash. His face was injured, bones were broken, scars remained. The studio panicked. His face was different, too different. They considered hiding it, avoiding close-ups, even recasting. But instead of covering it up, the writers leaned in. They added the Wampa, a savage, unseen creature that claws Luke's face apart in the opening act. It wasn't about Hoth anymore. It was about narrative surgery, rewriting reality into the story. Hamill didn't just survive the crash, he folded it into the character. And somehow, the scarred, shaken Luke Skywalker we meet in Empire feels more real than ever, because he was. Number 6. For weeks on Dagobah, Luke Skywalker wandered through swamps, trained with a puppet, and questioned the meaning of everything. But what we didn't see was the loneliness. Those scenes were filmed on a raised platform with Frank Oz and a full team of puppeteers buried beneath the set, crammed in total darkness. Hamill stood above them, surrounded by fog machines, wires, and rubber vines, speaking to a foam creature on a stick. No co-stars, no eye contact, just him and the voice of Yoda echoing up from the floorboards. He had to sell every emotion, every moment of doubt, every spiritual crisis to a puppet, and somehow, it worked, because when Hamill looked at Yoda, we believed he saw a 900-year-old Jedi Master, even when no one else was there.
I don't want your help. I want my lamp back. I'm gonna need it to get out of this slimy mud hole.
Slimy? My home this is! What? Fine!
R2!
Number 7. It's the climax of the film. Vader's outstretched hand, Luke trembling above the abyss. But behind the camera, everything was on the brink. It was the final day of shooting. Nearly 3 a.m., the cast and crew had been running on fumes. The mood was grim, quiet, no jokes, no energy left. And then, action. Mark Hamill stood on the platform, soaked in sweat, barely able to process the moment. David Prowse, in full Vader gear, moved through the choreography like a tank running on fumes. The scene unfolded in near silence. No music, no sound design, just raw exhaustion. Later, Hamill said it felt spiritually draining. But that's what made it real. Because when Luke screams, "No!" he's not just reacting to a plot twist. He's reacting to a world that's come undone. And the actor, he was right there with him. Number 8. The line was supposed to be sweet. Leia says, "I love you." Han was scripted to say, "I love you too." But Harrison Ford read it and rolled his eyes. He thought Han Solo deserved something rougher, something truer, not sentimental, not soft. So in the carbon freeze chamber, with cameras rolling and seconds left before he's encased in metal, Ford ignored the script. Leia whispered, "I love you." And Han, calm, cocky, doomed, fired back.
I know.
Everyone froze, silence on set, then quiet nods, because somehow, that was the moment. They didn't reshoot, didn't rewrite, they just kept it. And today, it's one of the most quoted lines in film history. Born not from a writer's pen, but from an actor who knew exactly who Han Solo was. Number 9. Before CGI, before digital effects, there was a guy with a pencil and a lot of patience. Every glowing lightsaber in The Empire Strikes Back was created by hand. Animators traced each blade frame by frame, sometimes 15,000 drawings for a single duel. They used colored pencils on high-contrast film, then layered in brightness, flicker, and motion blur, all without the aid of computers. It was backbreaking work, but it gave the lightsabers that raw, unstable energy fans still remember. Because when Luke ignites his blade, that glow isn't pixels, it's passion, drawn by people who believed in the Force, one frame at a time. Number 10. The asteroid field felt like chaos, speed, danger, a ship dodging death at 1,000 miles an hour. But the Millennium Falcon never moved an inch. It was the camera that flew. To film that legendary chase, model makers mounted the Falcon on a stand and spun the lens around it. Every asteroid was shot separately, every movement programmed with motion control rigs. That shot, where a rock explodes near the Falcon and the camera whips around, 1.7 seconds long. It took over 3 weeks to film, because in 1980, movie magic meant smoke, miniatures, patience, and optical printers running through the night. No shortcuts, just pure handmade adrenaline. Number 11. They shook the ground, towering metal beasts stomping through snow, each step thundering like a war drum. But those terrifying AT-AT sounds, they didn't come from any sci-fi lab. Sound designer Ben Burtt found the perfect noise in a factory, an industrial punch press, slamming down onto concrete. It wasn't just mechanical, it was violent. Then they slowed it down, layered in animalistic growls, twisted it into something alien yet familiar. That's the magic of Star Wars sound. You think you're hearing a futuristic death machine? You're actually listening to raw machinery and studio sorcery, stitched together until it walks and breathes. Because in this galaxy, even the footsteps tell a story. Number 12. The famous crawl didn't float across space with digital ease. It was a physical build. A huge sheet of yellow letters printed on black, laid out on a 6-foot board, and filmed with a camera slowly tracking upward, 1 inch at a time. Every wobble, every tilt, every flicker of light. All real. If the focus slipped, start over. If a shadow hit the lens, reset the shot. It took hours to get a few seconds, but Lucas wanted it to feel like myth, like a story already in motion, not just a film, but a legend being retold. And so the words weren't rendered, they were carved into cinema. Number 13. Boba Fett almost looked like a forgotten stormtrooper. Early designs had him in blank white armor, clean and sterile, more prototype than personality. But something felt off, too polished, too empty, so the team dirtied him up, scuffed the metal, added chipped paint, smudged the visor. They made him look like he'd been through hell, and stopped caring halfway through. The final green and gray suit turned him from background extra into legend. He barely speaks, he barely moves, but the armor says it all. This guy's survived more than most, and he didn't come here to talk. Number 14. It sounds ridiculous now, but back in 1979, Yoda almost got cut from The Empire Strikes Back. Not because the character didn't matter, but because no one believed a rubber puppet could carry the emotional weight of a Jedi Master. Executives were terrified. They saw the script and panicked. Luke Skywalker was about to spend half the movie talking to a swamp puppet with pointy ears. This wasn't Alec Guinness in a robe. This was a foam latex creature built by Muppet Show alumni. Even George Lucas had doubts. He wanted Yoda to be wise, ancient, mysterious. But what if audiences just saw a frog with a lightsaber? The pressure landed squarely on Frank Oz, the man behind the puppet, and the voice. He had to make Yoda real, with nothing but his hand, a voice, and pure performance. And Mark Hamill? He had no co-star, just wires, fog, and a small green puppet balanced on sticks. But somehow, the gamble paid off. Oz gave Yoda not just a voice, but soul. Hamill believed in the performance, and by the time Yoda lifted the X-Wing from the swamp, no one was laughing. The studio didn't just keep the puppet. They helped create one of cinema's most beloved mentors, a creature built from rubber, breath, and faith. Number 15. Most directors fight to get studio money. George Lucas fought to walk away from it. After the original Star Wars shattered every box office record in 1977, the studios came crawling. They offered Lucas blank checks, more control, more power. But Lucas didn't want their control. He didn't want notes. He didn't want interference. He wanted freedom. So for The Empire Strikes Back, he made a terrifying choice. He turned down the studios and funded the sequel himself. Every set, every miniature, every paycheck. Paid for by Lucas, using profits from toys, merchandise, and personal loans. And when production ran over budget, as it did, he didn't ask for help. He borrowed more, refinanced assets, stared down bankruptcy just to finish the movie his way. If Empire had failed, Lucas would have lost everything. Skywalker Ranch, ILM, even Star Wars itself. But he trusted the story, trusted the fans, and trusted that this darker, riskier middle chapter would be worth the price. And in the end, it was. Because the rebellion wasn't just on screen, it was behind the camera too.
Never a condition of our agreement, nor was giving hand to this bounty hunter.
Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly?
No.
Good. It would be unfortunate if I had to leave a garrison here.
Number 16. The love triangle wasn't always so awkward. In early drafts, Luke and Leia were the romantic arc. Their chemistry in A New Hope wasn't just flirtation, it was intentional. But as the story evolved, so did the characters. Lucas had a bigger twist brewing. So, with the reveal of their shared parentage on the horizon, he quietly rewrote the path. By the time Empire was in full swing, Han and Leia took center stage. That's why some early scenes still feel mixed. The tension, the looks, that infamous kiss. It wasn't a mistake. It was a shift in real time. They were still building the galaxy and figuring out whose hearts belonged where. Number 17. It was the greatest secret in Star Wars history.
I am your father.
One line, one twist, and it changed everything. But when it came time to shoot that scene, the script didn't say it. Not even close. David Prowse, the man inside the Vader suit, was handed a decoy line. Obi-Wan killed your father. Only 3 people knew the truth. George Lucas, director Irvin Kershner, and Mark Hamill. And Hamill? He found out minutes before the take. Kershner pulled him aside, whispered the real line in private, and gave him a warning. Don't overplay it. Don't tell anyone. Just let the shock hit in silence. And Hamill delivered. One of the most controlled, heartbreaking reactions in sci-fi. Not even the rest of the cast knew what happened until they saw it in theaters. But here's the twist inside the twist. Months before the movie came out, David Prowse stood at a fan convention. Someone asked what might happen in Empire, and Prowse, casually, off the cuff, said, "Darth Vader turns out to be Luke's father." The crowd laughed. The press ignored it. They thought he was joking, or just confused. After all, Prowse never saw the real script. His voice was dubbed. He was just the guy in the suit. But somehow, he'd guessed the biggest reveal in movie history, and no one listened. The spoiler was out there, hidden in plain sight, and dismissed as nonsense. In the end, the moment stayed safe, not through force, but through invisibility. The greatest twist in cinema, guarded by silence, misdirection, and a lie so bold, no one dared to believe it. Number 18. The first time we saw the Emperor, it wasn't Ian McDiarmid. It wasn't even one person. It was a stitched-together illusion, a horror show made from scraps. When Darth Vader bows before the Emperor's hologram in Empire, the moment feels ominous. A dark force finally revealed. But behind that menace, it was three completely different performers, fused into one terrifying image. The face? That belonged to Marjorie Eaton, an elderly actress filmed under layers of shadow and prosthetics. But something was missing. The eyes. So the FX team made a bold, bizarre call. They superimposed gorilla eyes, actual animal footage, over hers to give the character a non-human, predatory stare. Then came the voice. Cold, regal, otherworldly. It wasn't Eaton. It wasn't McDiarmid. It was Clive Revill, a veteran voice actor with a chilling tone. 3 pieces, 1 monster. Before there was CGI, before they had a final casting, The Empire Strikes Back built its ultimate villain like a myth. Part woman, part beast, part voice in the dark. And somehow, it worked. In just a few seconds of screen time, the Emperor became a presence. Looming, ancient, unknowable, a Frankenstein god. Born of fear, film tricks, and one unforgettable stare. Number 19. Yoda wasn't CGI. He wasn't motion capture. He was Frank Oz's hand and his heart. Oz didn't just puppeteer Yoda, he performed him. Voice, movement, timing, emotion. It was acting through foam and rubber, and it moved audiences worldwide, but not the Academy. When Oscar season came, Empire was recognized for sound and visual effects. But Frank Oz? Nothing. No nomination. Not even a mention. Because puppeteering wasn't considered real acting. Never mind that audiences cried when Yoda passed, or that critics raved about the soul in that puppet's eyes. Oz gave one of the most iconic performances in film history, but to the Academy, it was just a puppet. And that silence still echoes. Number 20. Before the first note of John Williams' score, before the crawl, there's no director credit, no a film by, just stars, space, and story. That bold, cold open, it broke Hollywood rules. The Directors Guild of America required director credit at the start of every film, but George Lucas refused. He wanted Empire to feel like an extension of the galaxy, not a resume. The Guild didn't take it lightly. They fined Lucas, not once, twice. And when he paid it out of pocket, they punished the film's producer too. Lucas was so furious, he quit the Directors Guild entirely and vowed never to work within their system again. Most filmmakers would have caved, but Lucas, he walked away from the table, all to protect the story, all to protect Star Wars. Bonus fact. Today, it's hailed as the masterpiece of the trilogy, but in 1980, The Empire Strikes Back almost ended Star Wars forever. Critics were divided. The tone was darker, the ending unresolved, and unlike A New Hope, Empire didn't open to record-breaking cheers. It made money, but not the kind Lucas was betting on. It pulled in $209 million worldwide. Solid, yes, but far below the first film's phenomenon. And behind the scenes, everything was on the line. If Empire had flopped, there'd be no Return of the Jedi, no prequels, no sequels, just a broken cliffhanger, and a galaxy cut short. But Empire didn't fade. Over time, it grew into something untouchable, a story that shaped not just Star Wars, but the entire future of cinematic storytelling. It didn't just survive. It became the cornerstone of a $10 billion legacy. And all of it nearly vanished before it began. You remember where you were. The chill of Hoth, the hiss of a saber, the line that changed everything. The Empire Strikes Back shattered expectations, split the galaxy in two, and left us with a silence louder than any explosion. It wasn't safe. It wasn't simple. It was a story that broke its heroes and made them timeless. If this one still lives in your memory, drop a comment. Tell us what legendary film we should uncover next. Because the Force may surround us, but the truth? It strikes harder.